Hello everyone and welcome to the Game Week 28 almost deadline stream, or it's our live team selection. So it's a bit of a hybrid live stream. It's good to be talking about FPL. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Let me know in the chat below. But yeah, really appreciate anyone who's out there watching at the moment, and hopefully you guys are all hyped for Game Week 28. It's a bit of a chaotic one. I still don't know what exactly I'm going to do with my team. I've got a couple of things in mind, but yeah, I think I really would need you guys to give me some input here as well. So a couple of people in the chat already got Mitchell and Paul. Welcome to you guys. So yeah, guys, I think what we're going to go into today is just going to talk you through my team, what I'm thinking about at the moment, and I would really appreciate your input and help as well. I'll go through a quick kind of Game Week 28 free hit draft and a wildcard draft, and also into captaincy, because I think captaincy is really wide open this game week. So I'm still up in the air about who my captain is at the moment. I've got a bust on Rafinha, but we'll get into all of that at the moment. You know, should I go for a Chelsea defender? I think that's kind of the hot topic of the week now that they've got that really juicy double game week of Norwich and Burnley away. So yeah, guys, lots of stuff to get into. So anyone who's watching at the moment, yeah, definitely smash the like button as well. Any questions as well, leave them in the chat, and we'll hopefully get to all of them in the live stream. Hoping to go for maybe just about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm not going to go all the way to deadline, just to kind of bridge the gap, I think, between the rest of the guys coming on in the UK. But I thought I really wanted to be able to speak about my team, and I think hopefully you guys can help me out in that regard. So I'll quickly just jump to what I've got at the moment in terms of looking at my team. So this is how it is at the moment. So it's pretty well set up, in all honesty. So I did play my wildcard in 26, so I did have this game week in mind. So obviously that's why I've got a lot of Villa, Wolves, Leeds players, and obviously got some Liverpool coverage and Arsenal coverage as well. And so I am looking to play the bench boost this week. I think given the fact that I did wildcard so close to recently, I think it just means that having the bench boost and the wildcard paired together is pretty handy, because normally the wildcard is the best chip to use in conjunction with the bench boost. Now, if any of you haven't listened to Planet FPL's most recent podcast on chip strategy and the predicted schedule, 100% recommend watching that. It does sound like Game Week 36 is going to be a pretty big double game week, but just looking at my bench there, I know they're all single game week players, but we're talking about the likes of Robertson and Arsenal with a good fixture away to Watford. So I'm kind of keen to just also get the bench boost out of the way, and then I could just focus on my starting 11 for the rest of the season, as opposed to having already wildcarded and then use free transfers all the way up until around Game Week 36, focusing on my bench. I don't really ideally want to be doing that. So I think I'm definitely going to be playing the bench boost. Now, my main consideration is, well, obviously there is no Chelsea players here. So that's really what I'm kind of trying to think about is which Chelsea player should I go for, and also who should I take out for a Chelsea defender, and should I even do a move? Should I just roll the free transfer as well? So I've been wringing my head. I've been kind of busy the whole week, so I was only able to really take a look at this on Friday. And if you guys have been checking my Twitter feed, you'd be seeing that I was all over the place. Was it Robertson or Dean? I mean, first of all, I think in the defense, the only people I'm thinking about taking out for a Chelsea defender are Robertson or Dean. Now, I know Wolves recently haven't been the best defensively, and their numbers also haven't kind of backed that up. But given the fact that I do play Game Week 30, and I do like their fixtures up until around Game Week 32, so it's a pretty nice run of games, and I think I'm keen to hold on to Wolves, and I know that they've got a very good goalkeeper at the back in Jose Sarr. So even though defensively they may be conceding chances in XG, they've got a fantastic goalkeeper who can prevent some of that, prevent those goals coming in. So I'm okay to hold my Wolves defenders, and I think I wouldn't take either of them out for James or Rudiger. So I guess I should preface that it's Rudiger or Reece James are the two defenders I'm looking at potentially bringing in from Chelsea perspective, because I just think that double, Burnley and Norwich away, Burnley and Norwich are the two worst attacking teams statistically, both over the season and over the last 6 game weeks as well. And Chelsea over the season, I think, are second or third best for defence, and over the last 6 have also stepped up their numbers as well. So it just looks, on paper, it just looks like a banker for a clean sheet in at least one of those 2 games, if not both. And so you could easily see someone like Rudiger playing both games pretty nailed on. That's 6 and 6. You can easily get a double-digit return just on clean sheets and appearance points. And then you've got obviously Reece James with his attacking upside, but a bit of more of a risk in terms of the minutes perspective. But I kind of have a feeling I'm going to be going for Reece James. So I have a great history with Reece James. I know a lot of people got burnt by him, but I managed to get all of his hauls earlier in the season. Humble brag. So I've got a real good affiliation with Reece James. So I think he's probably the one that I'm going to want. The attacking stats are just insane. I've actually got FP Ref open in another tab, which we can jump onto a little bit later, but he's got the same underlying expected goal involvement as some strikers like Ollie Watkins and Wilfried Zaha, and he's a defender, and he can get clean sheets. So he's just by far and away one of the best defender options that we can go for. It looks like he's going to be fit for the Burnley fixture as well, because Azpilicueta is not going to be ready for that. And then it's like a 4 or 5 day turnaround till Norwich, so he could start that. A bit of a risk with the Game Week 29 fixture against Newcastle, because that's, I think, 2 or 3 days after. But I think I'm willing to take the risk. So that's kind of my predicament at the moment. Not going to be changing on the bench boost. And honestly, if I did bring in one of the Chelsea defenders, I have a inclination to captain them as well. We'll obviously touch on captaincy in a little bit. But yeah, so this is my team at the moment, and it's really Robertson or Dean that I'm looking to take out. So I'll quickly just jump over to fpl.team. I'm fairly certain that a lot of you who are watching probably are now familiar with this website. Great tool for planning future moves. So if you guys saw my initial thoughts video a little bit earlier in the week that I put out, I originally was going to do a bit of a hokey cokey where I was going to take out Robertson for Rudiger and then bring back Robertson via Luca Dean in Game Week 29. Reason for that is, Liverpool have a single Game Week fixture, Aston Villa have a double, and then in 29, obviously Liverpool have the double of Brighton and Arsenal away, and Aston Villa only have the single of West Ham away. And even though Aston Villa do cover Game Week 30, just looking ahead, their fixtures do start to toughen up around Game Week 30 onwards. So it's Arsenal, Wolves, Spurs, Liverpool. It's not a great stretch. I mean, Wolves maybe for a clean sheet because they don't score that many goals. But the other three, I can see Aston Villa conceding. And in all honesty, I haven't been that impressed by Aston Villa's defensive numbers recently as well. And then the rest of the games for the season are not bad. Obviously, they've got Man City in 38. And they do still have an outstanding fixture against Burnley that they need to rearrange as well. So I might dip back into Aston Villa at some point. But yeah, I'll be keen to see what you guys think, taking out Robertson or Dean, or not doing either of that for a Chelsea defender, because I've been thinking about, obviously I could do that hokey cokey of, Robertson out for James and then maybe bringing in Robertson back via Luca Dean. And the reason I kind of feel like I could do this move is that because the team's very well set up for this week, and if I just flick over to next week without making any moves, if I just set up that team as I would for Game Week 29, I've got quite a few doublers. I think from memory, I've got about 7 double Game Week players. So I'd bench my Aston Villa players. I'd have a decision actually to make between Dubravka and Ramsdale. But you can see already in Game Week 29, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 double Game Week players. So I'm pretty well set up, so I still feel like I don't need to make any particular moves in Game Week 29 to further attack this double game week. It is a bit of a tougher double game week because you can see like Liverpool's double is not ideal. They've got Arsenal, similar for Arsenal having Liverpool in their double, and then Tottenham having Manchester United. So it's a bit of an iffy double game week, so I'm not sure how much upside's in there that I want to be piling into. And so I'm thinking, maybe I could just use a couple of free transfers over the next, 2 weeks just to do a bit of a hokey cokey with Robertson and get that extra fixture with Luca Dean. But thinking about it a little bit more, I think come Game Week 30, obviously I'm going to have a few players blanking because it is the blank game week. And so I would have about 8 or 9 players looking at this. I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd actually have 10. So I have 10 blank game week players in Game Week 30, which is, I think, more than enough. But I am conscious that I probably don't own the best captain that week, which is Harry Kane, nor do I have Leicester. So Leicester actually have Brentford in Game Week 30, and Leicester is a team I definitely do want to consider just because they've got a lot of fixtures to rearrange. I'm fairly certain they've got doubles in Game Week 33, 36 and 37, and they've got generally good fixtures as well. So for example, if I just take a quick look at, say, Jamie Vardy, so from Game Week 30 onwards, you can see it's a pretty good run for the rest of the season. There's no real tough fixtures in there apart from maybe Manchester United in Game Week 31 and then Spurs in 35. And they've got 3 fixtures to rearrange as well. So Leicester's definitely a team I want to target. So I think kind of circling back to Game Week 28 and the way that my team's set up at the moment, if I was to do the Robertson out for Reece James, I'm very conscious of taking out Robertson just because of how good he has been recently. He's only played 1 game for me since I brought him on Wildcard, and he's already scored 13 points. For context, Luka Dean has played 2 games for me and scored 8. So I'm already thinking Robertson's probably the better play, isn't he? So I could just sub in Reece James for Luka Dean or for Trent, and I would still bench boost, and that's a pretty good bench boost team. And then in game week 29, if everything was fine with the team, obviously I would probably then it hasn't actually saved over, but what I would do then is take out Luka Dean back for Robertson. So instead of Robertson here, just imagine it's Reece James, and then I'll take out Luka Dean for Robertson, and then I'd play Robertson and Reece James and probably bench Saiz. So I could do that, and then in game week 30, that would mean I only have the 1 free transfer. Now the issue with that is only having 1 free transfer in game week 30 means if I want to try to get a Leicester asset or maybe even Harry Kane, it's actually Salah who I'd have to take out. So for example, I'd maybe do a downgrade of Salah to say like a Maddison, just because I know I'll want him long term, and it's a good fixture at home to Brentford. That leaves like 8 mil in the bank. So I could maybe do like, Broya up to say either a Kane or a Vardy. I would have enough in the bank to be able to afford that as well. And then it just means in game 31, I'd have to kind of reverse that because I'd want Salah back against Watford. And so that would probably be then for a -4. So I would probably, in that situation, I'd have to take out one of the midfielders. It probably would be Rafinha, just because Leeds wouldn't have any further fixtures, I believe, to rearrange. Even though they've got decent fixture in 31 and 32, it does start to toughen up a little bit from 33 onwards. So I might be okay to lose Rafinha at that point in time to get Salah back. And I might fund that 5.4 by taking out maybe one of Son or Kane. I don't know. That's kind of my loose plan at the moment. But I guess the general gist of what I'm trying to get at here, going through all of that, is I feel like I've got enough flexibility to kind of maybe do a bit of a hop-on, hop-off with some of my defenders, just because I know that I've got overall the structure of the team is pretty good. Like it's okay for game week 30. It's fine for game week 29 and pretty well set up for game week 28 as well. So in the instance, I actually take out Luka Dean. So I know this sounds crazy, taking out a guy who's got a double game week, but what this does let me do though is obviously I'd bring in Reece James, say for Robertson. I play the bench boost in this week, and then next week I wouldn't have to worry about having to bring back Robertson. I've got him there ready to go for game week 29 double, and I'll have the triple Liverpool, which I think will be a bit of a differentiator, to be honest, given that most people I think a lot of people would be taking out the likes of Virgil van Dijk for Reece James. If I'm able to kind of navigate it where I can still maintain that triple Liverpool, then I think that's a nice kind of differentiator. So I'd say I'd play Robertson over one of the Wolves defenders, and I'll maybe play Broya over, say, Saiz, and that would be my team for game week 29. And I'd probably roll the free transfer. I don't think I need to make any move then in game week 29. And then going to game week 30, I'd have the 2 free transfers. So this is kind of why I'm thinking maybe of doing just the Dean move. Even though Dean does play in game week 30, I don't mind losing him just because I know the fixtures start to toughen up. I'm probably going to want Robertson over Dean long term. And then, even if I take out Dean, as I have in this particular scenario that I'm looking at, I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I still have 9 players in game week 30, which I think is fine. And if I can go into game week 30 with the 2 free transfers as well, I can very easily bring that up to say, 11 players, 10 or 11 for free, which I think is going to be a really nice kind of play to do. And then in 31, maybe I just take a -4 to get back Salah, which I think a -4 over that whole stretch to kind of be able to jump onto some of those good assets like Chelsea. And one thing I do like with maintaining Robertson is that price point is really nice. It's a nice placeholder for Cancelo if I do want to get Cancelo back in the future, which I think we all know that how good Cancelo is. I think I'm going to want to do that eventually. So I don't mind having that placeholder of Robertson just sitting there if I eventually want to get back to Cancelo, and then I can run with the defense of James, Trent and Cancelo, kind of what we had earlier in the season. I'm not going to go too much further in terms of the planning, just because there's still a lot of uncertainty on the other side of game week 30. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of maybe taking out Luka Dean instead of Robertson this game week. I'd be keen to see what you guys think in the chat. I'll just take a quick look at Brandon's question. So it says, hey bro, play Cancelo, Robertson, Livramento or Dennis? Ooh, it's a tough one. So Dennis and Livramento both have the double, although Dennis doesn't have an ideal double. I think it's Wolves and Arsenal. Livramento's got Villa and Newcastle, which is pretty good. Cancelo's got Manchester United, Robertson's got West Ham. I'm always tempted to play the double game week player, so I'd probably play. But then my other train of thought is I'd normally like to play the forward over the defender. I can see Southampton maybe getting one clean sheet out of those two. I'm not sure if Watford would score against either of those teams. So I think the chances of a return are probably high for Livramento. So I'd maybe consider Livramento over Dennis. Now, playing Livramento over Cancelo or Robertson is a tough one, but I think I'd maybe do it just for the double game week player. I think I'd go Livramento. But then I guess he is also a rotation risk, isn't he, because of Perot? Oh, yeah, that's true. You'd be filthy if you played him and he only played one of those games. So I think I'd actually play one of Cancelo or Robertson. Man, that is tough. That is a tough one. Cancelo's away. Robertson's at home. West Ham have not been that good attacking-wise recently. Manchester United have been good attacking. Actually, and City don't have Diaz. He's out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe that means their defense isn't as good. Or I'll play Robertson. That's my line of thinking there. I think I'd play Robertson after kind of going through that process of elimination. So hopefully they found that useful. Go hopping. New Leeds manager will play Rodrigo. He's in form and has a double game week. Yeah, I have seen people consider Rodrigo because he's pretty cheap. What is he? He's 6.2 million up top. But I watched FPL Black Box earlier this week, and they show that his underlying stats are actually not very good as well. And how certain are we, I guess, of his minutes? Just because there's also Geldhart is in the frame. Apparently, I did read a couple of interviews and articles around the new Leeds manager. Apparently, he likes sometimes playing with two up top. Maybe that could suggest, like Dan James and Rodrigo. I don't think I'd take the risk there at 5.2. I think instead I would probably go for a Southampton forward like a Broja or an Adams, maybe even a Newcastle one like Chris Wood, just because he has a double-double. Although I get that Rodrigo does cover game week 30, but I don't think I'd personally go with Rodrigo. I haven't actually seen what his recent scores have been like. I'll have a quick look here for you, actually. He has got a couple of assists against Villa and then a goal against Manchester United, although I do remember that goal was it was basically a cross, so I'm not sure how much I can give that to him. He only played 45 minutes the last two games as well. I just don't know if there's that much of kind of certainty of minutes with him. I don't think I'd be going with Rodrigo personally. Asad Ali, Ramsey and Mount, or Coutinho and Ramsey? Ramsey and Mount. I'd go Ramsey and Mount. I think Mount is a better long-term pick in terms of the Chelsea attackers, and the double is very, very nice. While the double is nice for Villa, I've got less faith in them than I do with Chelsea, and I just think the double is better for Chelsea. Ramsey's good because he's a nice cheap enabler, so I've got him in my team at the moment as well. So yeah, I would go Ramsey and Mount. So yeah, guys, that's in terms of my own team, that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Taking out Luca Dean for Reece James. It's either going to be Robertson or Dean. I'm still on the fence, but there's 100%. I don't think I'm going to be rolling a transfer. I don't think I'm going to be comfortable not having a Chelsea defender this week, just because I know both from an ownership perspective and just the fixtures on paper look so good. And I know I'm going to want Reece James long term, so I think I've kind of talked myself into getting Reece James instead of Rudiger. I do understand that James is going to be less certain of minutes over the next 3 game weeks compared to, say, Rudiger, but I think long term, I'm going to want Reece James. I mean, I'm sure most of you would be aware of how good the fixtures are for Chelsea, but I mean, you look at that run for the rest of the season, the toughest fixture they've got is Manchester United in 37, but they don't have to play Liverpool or City or Arsenal for the rest of the season. So I think just getting a Chelsea asset, and if I can get Reece James, who I think is the best one, I'm just going to go. I think I'm just going to go with him for now. And I have a good feeling I'm going to be taking out Luca Dean as well. And I guess maybe final point before I stop rambling about my own team, maybe I'll be a bit more helpful for you guys out there. So I sometimes use FPL Review just to kind of sense check my thinking or my decision making, just to see if kind of from an algorithm kind of objective standpoint, is what I'm thinking kind of sensible. So what I did was, you can go to FPL Review, it's fplreview.com, go on Team Planner, and then under free model. So I'm not a paid member just because I've only started recently kind of dabbling into it, so I didn't want to go for the paid model just yet, but I know quite a few people who do, and they say it's very good. So what I did was, you can load up your team with your team ID. And so just because I'm only looking, say, for a 3 game week window up until game week 30, so game week 28, 29, 30, I changed the game week projection to 3. And so I'll just load up my team ID. And so it's going to give you kind of a projection of over the next 3 game weeks, kind of suggested transfers, just because, as you saw earlier, I don't have that many planned moves, I think, for the next few game weeks. So if I can kind of do a bit more luxury moves that other people can't, I'm kind of keen to do that. So I've loaded up the team, and then what I did was transfer suggester. And then here you just kind of put in the chips that you're planning on doing. So looking to bench boost in 28. And next week, Liverpool have the double game week. So I think I'm very certain going to be triple captaining Salah. And so I did transfer suggest, and I was thinking, okay, let's see if it says which Chelsea defender to bring in and which one should I take out. And then the very first, the first one on screen was Luka Dean out for Reece James. And I thought, ooh, okay, that's a sign. And it gives a kind of projected points gain that you would make from making that move. So 4.69. And normally people value a free transfer at around 4 points. So it's slightly above the 4, but it's more or less the same. And so I thought, okay, interesting. I could do Luka Dean out for Reece James. And then the second option was Robertson out for James. And so I thought about that. And I was like, okay, well, the points differential in terms of gain is not very different. But I was thinking maybe a little bit more long-term, less hokey-cokey. I'd probably want to get rid of Luka Dean and keep Robertson. So I was thinking I might just do the Luka Dean out. And then I saw that the algorithm kind of supported my thinking, and I thought, yeah, I think Luka Dean's the one I'm going to be taking out. I've never taken out a double game week player, but I feel like it's a bit of a unique situation. I don't want to be rolling a transfer, honestly. I feel like my thinking around this season has changed completely. I normally do try to be quite pragmatic. Like last season, I had a very good overall finish, and a lot of that was because I was just being a bit more conservative. I was rolling transfers where I could, going into game weeks with the 2, but the way that this season has panned out, it's absolutely ridiculous, the amount of double game weeks that just pop up out of nowhere. I'm kind of thinking I can't be that conservative or kind of pragmatic. I need to be a little bit more aggressive, just because double game weeks can deliver higher points than the average game week. So I think taking those kind of more luxury, hokey-cokey moves, maybe taking those additional hits could work out as well. I mean, I haven't even thought about this, to be honest, but could I take out both Luka Dean and Robertson for Rudiger and James? Now, to me, that seems a little bit overkill. I'm not sure if I'd do that. I'm fine with just getting the one Chelsea defender for now. But yeah, I was very interested to see that was the top option. And another option that it said was Broja for Ings. I'm not sure about that. They obviously value the Aston Villa double more than the Southampton one. And then you got Robertson to James again. But it's the one that stood out on top. Luka Dean out for Reece James. So I have a feeling that that's going to be the move that I do this week. So I'll quickly take a look at Paul's question. Do you have any thoughts on Willock versus Fraser? Yeah, I think this is an interesting one because I think obviously Newcastle are very appealing, the fact that they've got a double-double. So I've got Dubravka, I got him on my wildcard knowing that he was going to have that double-double. Brighton at home, Southampton away, and then Chelsea away and Everton away. I think from an attacking perspective, it's pretty good for Newcastle. I can see goals in both Brighton and Southampton, and then in that Everton game as well. Now, just going to quickly remind myself of the prices of these two. So Willock is 5.8, and Fraser is, I think he's 5.3. Yep, he's 5.3. On the eye test, Willock looks the better option to me. Just he's a bit more direct. He seems like he's got more goal threat as well. He was very streaky. So I am an Arsenal fan, so I remember seeing a bit of Willock at Arsenal. But then also last season, he went on a stretch of games where he was scored like 6-7 games in a row, I think. Fraser has been good in the past for FPL. He's more of the kind of better on the assists, in my opinion. His chance creation numbers are very high. He takes corners. So I think the assist threat is there. Probably has maybe slightly more avenues to points in that regard because obviously he can pop up with a goal but provide the assists, whereas I think Willock is more of that kind of just a pure goal threat and not really much else. I think Fraser he looks better, the fact that he is cheaper, 5.3 mil, so he's one of the players you can very easily bench or be used on a bench boost, so I really like that fact. I would probably go for Willock personally, just because I know that he is streaky and it seems like he's starting to get into that streak. So I would maybe go with Willock, but I think the underlying numbers for overall expected goal involvement are better for Fraser. So I think it kind of depends. Are you an eye test manager? Are you a stats manager? I think what is also nice about Fraser, even though he is 5.3, there's a lot of players around that price that you can move to. You've got the likes of, say, Martinelli at 5.3. You've got Ramsey. You've got Gordon from Everton. So Everton will have a double in 29. And they also do have potential for more doubles after game week 30 because they've got a lot of fixtures to rearrange. So I do like the look of that Fraser price point, but I think I'd go for Willock. But it's a bit of a 50-50. It's a toying cost. It's not a very easy decision, but that's just more of an eye test suggestion, I think, in my eyes. And yeah, Mitchell backing me up in the chat saying that Willock is such a streaky player. Yeah, he definitely is. Left hand to jaw, top 5 captain picks this week. Yeah, so we'll definitely get into captain picks at some point. So I'm conscious I've been going for about half an hour, so I think that's enough on my team. I think I probably am going to do the Luka Dean to Reece James move. I think I've kind of talked myself into it. I think the algorithm backs me up. I think maybe final thing about my team is if I do bring in Reece James, would I captain him? I'd be very tempted to captain Reece James as well, which gives me that extra impetus to want to do the move. I can see him playing Burnley. I can see him playing maybe clean sheet. Norwich, even if he plays half the game, he couldn't easily pop up with an assist or something. I mean, it's been on Rafinha for most of this game week. Main reason for that was I think Aston Villa at home is a good fixture. I think Leeds will score there. It's a bit of an interesting one with Leeds though, just because I'm not sure about the kind of whole new manager bounce, because I think with Leeds it's a bit of an exception where they didn't want to see their manager go. They had such a bond with him. So is it going to be a bit of a deflating period before they bounce back again? But Leicester away is a good fixture for an attacker. They've not been good defensively at all this season, and they're poor from set pieces, and Rafinha takes almost all of Leeds set pieces, both like corners and free kicks. So that's something that was definitely appealing for Rafinha, and I think the Aston Villa fixture is good. Obviously, he doesn't quite have the upside. It's very commonly joked about that he doesn't get double-digit returns, but I do like Rafinha from that perspective. Honestly, I know it's boring, but Salah, he has an insane record against West Ham. I actually remember something similar happened last season where he, I think there was a lot of indecision around who to captain in a particular game week, and I saw that Salah had West Ham, and I heard it on a radio or a podcast that mentioned that Salah has only ever blanked like once against West Ham, and he ended up getting a goal and an assist. So it worked out really well for me that I captained him. So I think if you're really on the fence about any player in your team, I would just go captain Salah. I know it's so boring to captain the single game week player, but he probably is, and he's playing at home. We know how good Salah is at home. To be honest, I don't even know if I want to say, oh, he's got a good record against West Ham, just because I think he's got, at this rate, he's going to have a good record against everyone, to be honest. So Salah is obviously going to be a good option. I think if you've got a Coutinho, I don't mind Coutinho, just because even though Ramsey actually has the better underlying stats, Coutinho is a bit more of that kind of talent. You know that he's on set pieces as well, so he's probably got a few more routes to points than say a Ramsey. Maybe Broja. I don't know. You could go with Broja, but Jose Sarr. I'll get on to captaincy a little bit later. I definitely will. But that's kind of my initial thoughts. I think maybe Reece James. Mitchell does make a point that the expected minutes for Reece James is very risky. I agree, but I think the fact that we pretty much know that we almost think that he's going to play Burnley because Azpilicueta is out. Even one fixture against Burnley, I can see him doing well. And so, apologies, I can't pronounce your name, but he says Rudiger or Jimenez captain. I'd captain Rudiger over Jimenez, in all honesty. Jimenez has just not looked on form. I know I've got him in my team, and it's a nice looking double, but Rudiger, I think, is nailed on for 2 games. Like I said, I think there's a very good chance of 2 clean sheets for Chelsea, so I can see like a 12-pointer minimum for Rudiger. Jimenez, to match that, would need to get like 2 goals. I think the chances of 2 clean sheets for Chelsea is greater than 2 goals for Jimenez, so I don't think I'd be captaining Jimenez in that situation. I'd go Rudiger. So I think that's enough about my team. It seems like I'm going to do the Luka Dean to Reece James move, and I might captain him. I'll reveal on Twitter what I end up doing, but I've got a feeling I'm going to captain him. But let's see what I end up with doing. Okay, so I do have a free hit draft and a wildcard draft, but since we were discussing it, I think I will talk a little bit about captaincy, just because I think it is very wide open this game week, and it's one of those exciting weeks, where it's not just going to be a default to Salah. There's so many different options that you can consider, and so this table I've got here is like the top 22 players, and this is from FPL Review, and this is their predicted points for game week 28. And very helpfully, they also have the average expected minutes. So this is the expected minutes per game. So obviously, if you look at someone like Rudiger, He's expected to play 87 in both games, so essentially he's going to play both games the full 90 minutes. But you can see the algorithm, quite obviously does favour the Chelsea assets. So Mason Mount is actually top for predicted points with 9.6. I mean, you can see the average expected minutes is a little bit lower for Mount just because he has also come back from injury. But he has looked good on the eye test. He missed a few chances against Liverpool in that Carabao Cup final. I've got very fond memories of Mason Mount as well in a double game week where he played Norwich because he got a... it wasn't even a double game week. He just played one game against Norwich and he scored a hat-trick and an assist and he was in my team. Beautiful Mason Mount. So I do like Mount. I have fond memories of him as well. But you can see why everyone is clamouring over Reece James. 9.54 projected points for Game Week 28, even though the average expected minutes are lower than the likes of a Thiago Silva and a Rudiger. All the algorithms, FPL Review, Mikel Tokvam's transfer algorithm has got Reece James as the top captaincy candidate as well. It just seems like Reece James is, at least like kind of statistically speaking, the best captain to go for, which is why I'm very tempted just to bring him in and captain him as well. It's a bit of fun. I don't know. It feels like fun as well. I kind of want to enjoy FPL as well. I'm sitting at a good rank, 16k. My team's well set up, so I kind of feel like that higher upside pick, I can afford it because I will be bench boosting this week. So yeah, I really like the look of Reece James. I don't think I'd be captaining Thiago Silva personally. I know it is an interesting debate. Would you go for Thiago Silva if you couldn't afford Rudiger? I think if you generally cannot afford Rudiger, then I think it's fine to go for Silva, just knowing that he's not going to be as nailed on as him. I think Thiago Silva's got pretty good attacking threat as well. He's generally quite good from set pieces. So I don't think there's anything wrong with going with Thiago Silva, but I think if you can afford that, extra 0.5, just pay it for Rudiger because you know that it's like an insurance peace of mind, knowing that he's going to generally play almost every game for Chelsea. So I'll take a quick look at the chat before I keep going. Paul, I know this is not the time or place, but very excited about TLT. Yep, I am as well. Only a few more sleeps for that as well. So anyone who watches NRL or Rugby League here in Australia, do follow my other channel, Aman Talks NRL Supercoach, because we're starting the new season and it's very exciting. Jake G, would you go Son or Dennis? If I was playing one of them, Son is a single of Everton, Dennis is Wolves and Arsenal. I'd play Son. I have much more faith in Son and Spurs than I probably do have with Watford. Striker 482, would you go Broja or Jimenez? Broja. I think I'd go Broja. I haven't really liked the look of Jimenez. I've got him on the wild card mainly for the fixtures, knowing that he's going to be playing in the doubles and things like that. But no, I think I'd be going Broja. He just seems like he's going to have he's just easier to fit in your squad as well. Like he's nice and cheap at, 5.4 million, something like that. And Jimenez he missed the last game, although it seems as though, based on what I've seen in, some Wolves forums, it seems though that was a bit of a case of a resting, not necessarily a dropping. So I would expect him to come back in, but I think I would go Broja. Quentin, hey mate, just finished dinner. He's late. No mate, no need to apologise. Quentin, it's great to see you here. Is Captain Sarr a good shout? Yeah, Jose Sarr. So I know Quentin from FPL Amateurs of Oz. Do follow him as well. Was just recently on his podcast as well. He has been talking about doing potentially a Jose Sarr captain. Now, honestly, you can see FPL Review ranks him quite high. I've been talking about like a Chelsea defender captain or a Rafinha captain, and right behind him is Jose Sarr. Jose Sarr is above the likes of Coutinho, Adams. I don't know about Chris Wood, but there's a few players who've got forwards and midfielders with double game weeks, but Jose Sarr is ranked higher. I think Jose Sarr is a great captain shout this week. There's no risk of minutes. He's going to play both games. I mean, what is it? Crystal Palace and Watford. That's right. I mean, I can see at least one clean sheet in there, and he's generally very good on the bonus. So if I do a bit of a hypothesizing around his potential points this week, in a base case scenario, let's say he gets 3 in one. So say they concede, but he gets, he generally makes the saves. So let's say he gets 3 points in one of them, and then maybe he gets 6 or 7 in the other, like a clean sheet with no bonus. That's already a 9 or 10 pointer. So I think he's pretty good chance of a double digit return. Now, obviously, in a upside case, you'd be getting 2 clean sheets, a few saves in both of them, and the bonus points. And we could be looking at like a Nick Pope 19 pointer that we saw. Downside case, maybe he gets a 3 and a 4 or 3-3. So he's still getting 6 or 7 points, which in a normal game week as like a goal for a midfielder or a forward. So I think it's okay. I don't think it's a bad shout. But I think if you do have, say, I think personally, if you had Rafinha or Chelsea defender in your team, I do think that they're slightly better captain than Jose Sa. But I personally think Sa is a better captain than Jimenez. If we take that for what you will, despite what the kind of FPL review says. So I would go Sa over Jimenez, but not over Chelsea assets or Rafinha. Quentin says, should I stick with Captain Coutinho? Yeah. Coutinho's an odd one. I know, like, I did consider him on the wildcard. I really did actually want him, but I just couldn't fit him into the team. The underlying stats for Ramsey are actually better than Coutinho. Not by much, but I think Coutinho is fine to captain because he's playing Leeds, even though it's a new manager. Based on what I've read about his philosophy, he's similar, but not exactly the same as Bielsa. He does like to press, but more zonal marking, not man-to-man marking, so that might help them be a little bit more organised. But I think Coutinho's fine. The other fixture is, was it Southampton? Southampton and Leeds, I believe it was. So I think Coutinho's a fine captain. Coutinho or Sa? I think in that case I probably would go Coutinho. He's an attacker. I think it's a bit more exciting watching an attacker as your captain than, say, trying to hope your goalkeeper captain doesn't concede a goal. Aniket, my wildcard team, so I'll just quickly read it out. Dubravka, Kilman, Rudiger, Shah, so that's Shah from Newcastle, Salah, Coutinho, Rafinha, Sargent, Broja, Kane, Bednarek. Sargent, is that Sargent from Norwich, if I'm not mistaken? And on the bench he has Kulusevski, Saka, Robertson and Ramsdale. Now the bench players are fine. I do like the pick of Kulusevski. I think he can be a nice option at that price. Robertson, Ramsdale, Saka is all good. They're all going to be good for game week 29. Also, Aniket, let me know if you're looking to bench boost in 29, because I think a lot of people are looking to do that in game week 29 if you wildcard in 28. Dubravka and Ramsdale, I think, is a perfectly good combination on goalkeepers, so I think that's good. Kilman's good, cheap Wolves asset. Rudiger's fine. Shah is good, double. Although, because you do have Dubravka, I would be a bit loath to have both Shah and Dubravka. I think I'd maybe just stick with one of them, just because Newcastle do have a slightly tougher run of games after game week 30 as well. So just be conscious of that. So I maybe would not have Shah. I would have only maybe just Dubravka, because Dubravka's cheap, 4.4. Although Shah is, I think it's like, 4.3. But I think, if you're wildcarding, look, I know I'm going to sound biased, I would get Reece James on a wildcard. I think when you're wildcarding, the benefit of it is to try to get ahead of the pack a little bit, right? You want to be bringing in the players that you know that people are going to want to get in the next few weeks. I think if you've already got Rudiger and Reece James, Trent, Robertson, it's a pretty big backline, but Robertson can become Cancelo down the line. And then I think big at the back is still a very optimal strategy, just because, I think Chelsea's best assets are their defenders. Liverpool, now that there's like Luis Diaz, offers a bit of rotation threat, so maybe the attackers apart from Salah is not the way to go, so maybe just go with the defenders. And with City, you don't want to try to predict their midfield, so go Cancelo. So yeah, I think I would definitely just try to fit I'd try to fit Reece James in there instead of maybe Shah. Now, to create the extra 2 million, Sargent, if you're talking about Josh Sargent from Norwich, I would not go for a Norwich striker. They just can't score goals, so I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, in my personal opinion. I'm trying to think where you could save the money from. If I'm saying instead of Shah, get Reece James. Maybe instead of Robertson, you go Reece James, and that saves you $1 million. And that $1 million might get you up from, say, Josh Sargent to, say, maybe like a Che Adams. I think if that money works, because Che Adams has been on form recently. Those would be my suggestions. I think just with your wildcard, I think overall most of it looks good. I do like Kulusevski. I think that's a good differential. I would just maybe consider not having a double up of Newcastle defence. Get in Reece James somewhere and take out Josh Sargent. I think the rest is fine. Bednarek is fine as a cheap Southampton defender as well. Those would be my main suggestions. And yes, you did confirm your bench boosting 29. So, maybe that's the reason you have gone for that kind of double Newcastle. But I still just think, I don't know how comfortable I'd be seeing double Newcastle defence in my team, although they have improved defensively recently. And Mitchell says, I've wildcarded James was the first pick. Yeah, see, Mitchell is on my wavelength. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name either. I want a differential. Neto or Grealish? Neither. I don't think I'd get either of them. Look, I like Pedro Neto, I think, as a player, but he's just coming back from a long-term injury. I don't think I'd go Neto. And Grealish has only just come back from injury. Man City don't have any scheduled doubles coming up. I don't see the appeal with Grealish. I think there's so many better assets cheaper than him who are not going to be rotation proof, so I wouldn't go with either of them personally. I think if you want a differential in midfield, Kulusevski. I like Kulusevski as a pick. Double in 29, plays game week 30, good underlying stats, look good on the eye as well. I would go Kulusevski over either of those two guys. Heritage Concepts, Sace and Dean, and to Kilman and Reece James. No. Look, I know I'm doing the Luka Dean to Reece James move, or I think I'm going to be doing about it. But I wouldn't be taking out Sace to Kilman. It seems a bit sideways. I'm guessing you're doing that to fund the Luka Dean to Reece James move. That does feel a little bit sideways, especially when it is for a -4. And there's a bit of a risk with Reece James not playing that second game. Like, I feel okay about it because it's only it's a free transfer for myself. And I mean, fair enough. Luka Dean might play 2 games and Reece James only 1, but I want Reece James long term. For a -4, I don't know if I'd be going with that. So no, I don't think I'd do those 2 particular moves. Stuart, can you help me with my bench order for defenders? You have Trent, Cancelo, Ait-Nouri, Cash, and James. Pick 3. Oh god. Trent. Okay, James is non-negotiable. You have to play James, so that's 1. Ait-Nouri and Cash have the double, don't they? I'd go Trent, Reece James, and then 1 of Ait-Nouri and Cash. Ait-Nouri is a bit of a rotation risk. Cash isn't, but I think Wolves have the better double for a defensive point of view. Oh my goodness. Why don't make me do that, Stuart? I might have to get the coin out. So it's been a bit of a tradition now on live streams where in a 50-50 call I get a coin out to do my tough 50-50 calls. No, I think, look, I would probably play... I think I play Ait-Nouri just because I think I prefer his 2 fixtures from a defensive point of view over Cash. Like, Cash could concede them both and get like 4 points. I think Ait-Nouri, even if he just gets 1 clean sheet in the game he plays, could get like 6. But yeah, let's say Ait-Nouri is heads and Cash is tails. It was tails, so the coin says Cash, but I think Ait-Nouri. Stuart, hopefully that helps. Aniket, by the way, I was really interested in buying Pedence. Is Pedence listed as a midfielder or a forward? If he's listed as a midfield, I would say no, just because there's so many good options in midfield. Like, I'm already thinking out loud. You've got Salah, Son, Rafinha, Coutinho, Ramsey. That's 5 I've thought of. Maybe you want Mason Mount. Maybe you want Kulusevski. I'm sure there's plenty of others that I've missed. Pedence, just Wolves. I know I've got Jimenez, but Wolves just don't score enough goals for my liking to warrant going for them. Michacho, going early on Barnes could be a good differential for those Arsenal. And yeah, I don't mind the look of or the thought of Harvey Barnes. I prefer Maddison over Barnes. Just I think Maddison's been a little bit more consistent recently. If you're going for a Leicester midfielder, I just don't know if this is the right week to bring them on a free transfer. I think on a wildcard it's okay, but I think Leicester. I'm really looking at bringing in Leicester after game week 30 or in game week 30 onwards, should I say? I think I prefer Kulusevski just because he's got the double in 29 that you can target. But I don't mind that shout. George says start Elise or Gabriel. Who are Crystal Palace playing? They're playing Wolves. That's right. So Elise's got Wolves and Gabriel has Watford away. I think I play Gabriel. I think that's a good chance of a clean sheet there. So I play Gabriel, I think, in that instance. Bilakshan. Thoughts on Virgil van Dijk to James / Rudiger for a -4. Now this is a little bit of an interesting one. I think for free, Virgil van Dijk to a Chelsea defender, I would do in a heartbeat. To be honest, I don't think I'd be thinking about that. The fact that I've got Robertson is a bit different. I think Robertson's a much better pick than Van Dijk, so it's a bit tougher to say or do that. -4. I think if you're going to do that for a -4, you have to captain that Chelsea defender you're going to bring in. If you're not planning on captaining them, I don't think I would do it. If you are, I would do it then. And maybe honestly, what you could do is you could even just do the switch back next game week to get Van Dijk for his double. So I don't mind that because it is a double game week, a bit of an upside play there. but I think you have to be captaining one of those Chelsea defenders, in my opinion, if you're going to do that for a -4. Quentin, what are your thoughts on this backline for this week? Excuse me. Cancelo, Trent, Ait-Nouri, Silva, and Target. Silva, Thiago Silva, right? Mate, that's a very good backline for this week. I mean, are you trying to ask me? Are you trying to pick like out of those like to play a certain number? I wouldn't want to bench any of them. It's similar to what the other guy asked me. I think it was Stuart who asked me that. I think it's a good backline. You've got doubles for Ait-Nouri, Thiago Silva, and Target, and then you've got Cancelo and Trent. That's fine. Oh, I can see you said you're sitting Dennis out, so you can play 5 at the back, and in midfield of Salah, Coutinho, Mount, Son. Yeah, I'd be comfortable benching Dennis for Trent and Cancelo. So I think you have done that the right way around. I think you're in for a big week. You've got Mount and the Chelsea defender. I don't think most people will go for the attackers. I think that most people would have either 1 or 2 defenders, but not the attacker. So there could be a cheeky play there. Sian Murphy, wildcard. Okay, let's see. Let's read out his team. So he's got Jose Sarr, James, Rudiger, Trent, Kilman. That's good. Salah, Rafinha, Ramsey, Broja, Jimenez, Kane, and a bench of Saka, Ben White, and Kulusevski. Who's your backup goalkeeper? So yeah, and apologies if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, just because I can only see Sarr written there. So let me know who your backup goalkeeper is. And I will... overall though, I think it looks good. I like the fact you've got double Chelsea defense. Kilman and Trent are good. Ramsey's good. Jimenez is fine. And the bench is good. No, I think that's a good wildcard team. I don't think that's too different from the one that I actually had put together. And I do like that Kulusevski pick. So yeah, no, I think that's a good wildcard. Just let me know later who your backup goalkeeper is. Because on a wildcard, personally, I was thinking maybe Ramsdale and Dubravka, just because they kind of rotate nicely and they cover game week 30, although Jose Sarr will cover game week 30 for you anyway. So no, I think it's a good wildcard team. Heritage Concepts. Luca Dean to Thiago Silva, as I have no cash to go directly to Rudiger or James. Okay, yeah, so you had previously asked about doing the Sias and Dean move. Dean to Thiago Silva. Look, I like it this week, definitely. The only issue I have with bringing in Thiago Silva, it feels like you're settling, because I know obviously you can't afford it with the money, but I know it's so easy for me to say about other people's teams, where I know if that was my own team, I'd be very keen to do that. I don't think I'd do that just because, unless you can do a bit of a hokey-cokey, just because I know I wouldn't want Thiago Silva for the long term. Like Rudiger and James, I can understand, because I know you do the move and you can just sit them there for the rest of the season. Whereas Thiago Silva, I'm not sure fits into that category. So I would maybe just play Dean instead if you can't go directly. Look, I think if you can get that money another way, maybe instead of taking out another double game week player and then maybe captaining one of those Chelsea defenders, I think that's a better way of going about it. Stuart says, at the moment I have cash over Ait-Nouri along with Trent and James, like you said. Yeah, I think that's probably the right way I'd go about it, yeah. You'll listen to the coin. No, don't listen to the coin. Well, actually, I just realized that the coin said cash. Of course it would. But cheeky puns. Guys, like and subscribe if you like cheeky puns. We're all about that here. No, I think I would probably lean to playing Ait-Nouri. K7, have you spoken about Rafinha yet? I did speak about Rafinha. Right at the beginning, I spoke about him just because I think he's originally was my captain, but I'm thinking if I do bring in Reece James, he'll probably end up being my captain instead. But I think Rafinha is good, whether you've transferred him in or a wildcard. I think he's a good pick. Rafinha I think is good. Even in the new system, to be honest, I don't see too much of a difference in his potential. He still hopefully should be on penalties, although I have seen images of Bamford back in training. But in all honesty, I think that's a good thing for Rafinha as well. You know, he's going to finally have a target man who can maybe put away the goals. Still on set pieces. So, no, I think overall, I like Rafinha as a pick. Brian, hi mate, would you captain Salah, Coutinho, Rafinha, or transfer in Rudiger for Trent/Robert and captain him? Oh God, we're back. I'm on the same dilemma of like taking out these Liverpool assets for Chelsea ones. Look, I wouldn't be taking out Trent for Rudiger, nor would I take out Robertson for Rudiger. Just because I know, like, at least Robertson to James, it's like attacking upside player for another attacking upside player, whereas Robertson is like attacking upside down to one with like a centre back with less, so it doesn't feel as good. Out of Salah, Coutinho, or Rafinha, I'd probably captain Rafinha just because I do like captaining the double gaming players, and then after that would probably be Salah. Although looking at my captaincy table that I've got from FPL Review here, Salah's down the bottom of this list. Like even Martinez with the doubles ranked over Salah, but I'm not sure too many people are going to be buying into that. Yeah, I think it kind of depends on your risk appetite. I think I'd probably lean towards a double gaming player, so probably Rafinha. Paul saw on Twitter Maddison is injured. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, that's right. He's a doubt for this week, and apparently he's predicted to not play this particular game week. So if you are looking for a Leicester asset this week, obviously don't go for Maddison if it is confirmed he's out. We might get early team news as well because that is the first game of the game week. Josh, should you captain Coutinho or Salah for the armband? Well, we kind of just discussed that. I'm always very tempted to go for the double game week player, so I think I would go Coutinho. I do like the fixtures as well. I think Southampton and Leeds are good for an attacker. Southampton have been pretty good defensively, but Leeds are Leeds. I think you can still target them irrespective of new manager or not. So I would go Coutinho. But, geez, it's close. My only thing about captaining Salah in a single is that if he blanks, you're going to hate yourself a little bit. You're going to be like, oh my god, I have to watch everyone else go with their double game week options. So part of me would just try to favour the double game week player. CN, yep, I think I already reviewed your wildcard, and your backup keeper is Foster. Yeah, Sarr and Foster's fine. I think that's a fine combination. Okay, Quentin, is it just me or is Joelinton a sneaky shout this week if St. Max is out? Picked him up in your draft league. Is Joelinton in the... is he a forward or is he a midfielder? If he's a midfielder, it's a no-go. Oh, I have to check on the actual FPL page. He's a forward. Ooh, interesting. He did score recently. He has looked better, but he still does Joelinton things. I mean, I keep thinking about when he kicked the ball into his own head. So I'm not sure, Quentin, what I would do. Nah, I don't know if I'd go Joelinton. That's too punty for my own liking. James captain? Who says no, mate? I'm all aboard a Reece James captain. The expected minutes is a bit of a risk, but all the algorithms say that he's the best pick for captain, because obviously Tuchel's comments in the press conferences made it sound like he's a bit more nailed on for the for at least the Burnley game, and Norwich there's a decent enough amount of time to rest that he might play that game as well. So I think it's fun. It's fun to captain Reece James I think this week. So I'm all aboard. TJ, on free hit, would you have Mount or Havertz? More confident Havertz plays both. Yeah, so this is actually something that's I have thought about. On a free transfer or wildcard, Mount. On a free hit, Havertz. I think Havertz is more likely to play the next two. So I think if you're just taking a punt, I would go for Havertz. So I'll actually quickly flick to my free hit draft that I put together for Game Week 28. And so if anyone is watching who is on a free hit, or if you're looking for maybe top targets for this week, maybe this free hit gives you an indicator of what I was thinking. I had Havertz on a free hit draft. I think you could go for triple Chelsea defense, but I feel like that's a little bit too much, maybe because there still are other good options with good defensive double game fixtures like Wolves. So I've gone Sarr and Saiss to cover the Wolves defense, Reece James and Rudiger with James as captain. The only single game players in this team are Salah and Kane, but obviously both are. I mean, Salah's undroppable and Kane's in very good form with a good fixture. And yeah, I've got Havertz. So I think free hit, I would go for Havertz. I just feel like for the next two, and knowing that you don't have to deal with the kind of rotation risk in the future, I would go with Havertz on a free hit. And then I've actually got Ward-Prowse just because I do like that double game week for Southampton. So obviously the bench is very strong, but it's a free hit. We can't bench boost because we can't play at the same time. We can't play more than one chip at the same time. KFC, will Martinelli play? I haven't actually seen the Arsenal press conference news. Maybe I should. I'll have a quick look-see on. I think Fantasy Football Scout does tend to post all the kind of team news. Let's have a quick look. Probably I shouldn't be doing this live on stream, but why not? Man United, Everton, Liverpool, Watford. Look, my gut says he will play, barring any injury. Oh, he didn't even do a press conference. Is that right? Oh no, he did. Sorry, my apologies. Did I miss the Arteta one? Burnley, Brighton. I'm going crazy here. Norwich, Newcastle, Palace, Chelsea, Wolves, Watford, Liverpool, Everton, Manchester United, Leicester, Man City, Spurs, Villa, Brentford. Have I just missed that Arsenal did not have a press conference or something? In any case, I think it depends on Smith Rowe. I think Martinelli plays. I think we kind of saw that Martinelli was more first choice than Smith Rowe, even though Smith Rowe was good. On whenever he plays, I do think that Martinelli is first choice. Captain James or Rafinha. Tough one. Tough. Oh, should I get the coin? I think James. I think Captain Reece James. But if you are concerned about his minutes, I think the next best is Rafinha, in my opinion. Play Trent or Lacazette? Ooh, Trent. More avenue to points than Lacazette. So I think there might be a bit of lag, guys. I've just got a bit of a thing from YouTube saying that there could be some poor connection coming up. So hopefully it stays pretty solid. We have been streaming for about an hour, so I'm not intending to go the full way till deadline. So if the stream does start to play up a little bit, I might have to end it early, but I really do appreciate everyone joining in at the moment. Foden to Rafinha, yes or no? I already did De Gea to Sarr and someone to Rudiger. I don't know who you took out for Rudiger, but I like Foden to Rafinha. Single game week for a double game week player. Plays game week 30, good fixtures. Yeah, I would do Foden to Rafinha, irrespective of the other hits you've taken. Who would you start, Mahrez or Saka? Ooh, so City have Manchester United. Saka has Watford. I think I'd play Saka. I think he's just nailed on. You know that you're guaranteed the minutes from him. So I'd play Saka, actually. Your free hit is the same. You just have Ings over Kane. Ings, yeah, okay, interesting shout. I'm just not super confident on the kind of rotation with the forwards for Aston Villa. Mitchell really liked FPL-wise chat about Havertz. Expected minutes is a worry, as I believe it will be dependent on how he performs against Burnley. Yeah, I did see FPL Wire as well, and yeah, they said that it's kind of performance related, whether he plays that second game against Norwich, but I think on a free hit, it's probably worth the punt. Okay, so Foster, De Gea, Veltman, Cancelo, Trent, Robert Dean, Bowen, Son, Salah, Rafinha, Ramsey, Jimenez, Brea, Weghorst. Any changes? I mean, I'd maybe consider taking out... I mean, Son, Salah, Rafinha, Ramsey and Bowen is fine. Maybe Bowen out... Actually, Bowen's okay. I think you can keep him with that midfield. Jimenez, Brea, Weghorst. Maybe you can consider taking out Weghorst, but... Yeah, looking at your defence, Veltman's not a great option. He does have the double next week. If I were you, KFC, if you don't want to take out any of those defenders, you could take out De Gea for Mendy to get that Chelsea defence. That could be an option that you could do. I think personally, I wouldn't go Martinelli. I'd just go for Saka, just to get that kind of peace of mind if you can afford it. What about Ziyech? Yeah, Ziyech is an option. He was playing well just up until he got injured. I actually wonder if he actually affects Reece James' performance, because he kind of occupies the same space that Reece James did. But yeah, Ziyech could be a punt. I don't know if I'd be confident transferring him just now. I think Mount is a bit more nailed on. But yeah, definitely someone who could consider. Maybe on a free hit. King to Wood. Yeah, I mean Josh King. I'm so glad I don't see double Watford strikers in my team anymore. I think it's fine to take out Josh King for Chris Wood, in all honesty. Is that my wildcard? No, this is a free hit draft that I put together. If you're interested in seeing a wildcard, I did put this wildcard draft together. So anyone who's on wildcards asking wildcard questions, this is an idea of the kind of team that I would do maybe on a wild card. Although having thought about it a little bit more, I would maybe think about trying to get in Kulusevski as well, because I did like the look of him. And maybe instead of Livramento, go for another cheap nailed-on defender. So say like an Eric Dyer from Southampton Eric Dyer from Tottenham. He can maybe help a bench boost 29, or maybe go for Bednarek, a bit more nailed on than Livramento. But I think it's a pretty standard wildcard template that you would see for Game Week 28. But it does help with a bench boost. You've got Dubravka, you can bench boost. Next week you've got a Kane double. The only other thing I might do on a wildcard this week is maybe think about getting a Leicester asset, but if Maddison is out this week, then I probably wouldn't go for that in any case. I'd probably just go for it and say Game Week 30. David De Gea to Sarr for a -4 bench boost. I think it's worth it. De Gea's got City, Sarr's got a nice double. I think that's worth it, Gaurav. Alright, so yeah, Jimenez, White and Kilman, or downgrade Jimenez to a cheaper option and get Gabriel and Sace. I don't mind Jimenez, White and Kilman, to be honest, just because I think they're good squad structure players, having White and Kilman. 4.6 and 4.5 for White, 4.6 for Kilman. And Jimenez is, if you're going for any Wolves striker or Wolves forward or attack, you're probably going for Jimenez. So, yeah. I think Jimenez, White and Kilman is fine. I don't see that much additional upside. Like Ben White to Gabriel is quite a big jump in money, and Sace and Kilman I don't think it's too different, to be honest. So I would maybe stick with what you have, Jimenez, White and Kilman. Man, thoughts on you dropping down to second in the Blue Tongue Bonanza League after this week? Not a chance. I'm gunning for number one. I want that number one spot. We'll see. Maybe Reece James will fall over on his head and that won't be a good transfer in, and maybe I will inadvertently drop out. No, I'm just jokes aside. Obviously want to be competitive, but let's see how it goes. There's still so much of the season left to go. I'm burning through chips now as well. I'm going to be bench boosting this week. I'm going to be triple captaining 29, and then I'm only going to have one free hit left as well. Emmanuel James nailed. I believe in Chelsea's best first 11. If fit, I think Reece James is first choice. And so nailed is hard to say with Chelsea assets, but I think James, I'd be pretty confident calling him nailed. Nailed in the sense of, I think he's in their first choice 11. Whether he plays every game, though, different story. Rudiger, I'd say, is definition of nailed. But expected minutes, I think, Burnley, I think, is pretty high. Norwich, it's iffy. But there's a nice rest of days between Burnley and Norwich for Reece James to recover. Pritnan, is Alonso a good option? Likely he plays both games. I'm not keen on Alonso. I've been burnt too hard by Alonso this most recent season. Does he play both games? Because I know they could potentially play Pulisic there. Does Hudson-Odoi sometimes drop in at left wing back? I think if they go to a back four, then Malang Sarr could even come in. So I would go. To be honest, I would actually go Rudiger, James, or Thiago Silva above Alonso, despite some attacking threat from him. But maybe that's a bit of bias because he has burnt me in the past. Shahid start 2. Cancelo, White, Jota, Son, or Saka. I haven't actually seen anything on Jota. Someone in the chat let me know. Is he back and ready to go? Be curious to see if he was fit. But yeah, if you're starting 2 of that, I think you play Son over Saka. I would bench Ben White. I think I'd be comfortable benching Ben White. I think I'd go the attackers. I think I'd play Saka and Son. Actually, I play Son and Cancelo. Just because Cancelo's got extra route to points than Saka. And also, I think a lot of people this is maybe not the right reason to do it. I think a lot of people are going to be benching Saka this week, unless they're bench boosting. And a lot of people are selling Cancelo. If you somehow still have Cancelo in your team, I think that'd be a really nice differential to actually have him playing in your team. So yeah, maybe go Cancelo and Son out of those if you want to just play 2. Tiger and Guna, McAllister or Bowen? Bowen. I think Bowen, despite the tough fixtures, is a better option than McAllister. Fletcher, Middleton, Captain James or Rudiger? Oof. The question on everyone's lips. Kind of depends on your risk appetite. So look, you probably don't need me to tell you that Rudiger is the nailed-on option who's safer. Reece James has got the upside. All the algorithms that I've seen are saying that Reece James is the best captain this week. even though he's a bit more of a risk versus Rudiger for minutes. It's just more fun, isn't it, captaining Reece James? I think if you have both, I'd be comfortable captaining Rudiger just because you still have James. If you only have one, though, actually that's not really your question, is it? Yeah, I think I captain James, to be honest, just the upside. Alright guys, I'm going to go for another like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm probably going to end it there. It seems like my laptop's starting to heat up quite a bit as well. But if you have enjoyed the stream, guys, really appreciate a thumbs up. And obviously if you're new around here, do please consider subscribing to the channel as well. Oh, although it actually looks like the stream's back to being excellent connection. So we'll go for another 5-ish minutes or so, guys. But if you guys keep having questions, I'm happy to answer. TJ, Jota started versus Norwich in the Cup. Oh, of course. Silly me. There you go. So Jota is fit. Ooh, that throws a spanner in the works. Do you play Jota? Oh, what did I say? Shahid, I told you Cancelo and Son. Oh, I'd stick with that. Maybe just because of rotation with Jota. And Fletcher, would you go with Ramsey or Willock? I'd go with Ramsey. I think he's a good, almost 1 million cheaper than Willock. Nice double this week. Good bench player going forward. Plays game week 30. Do you think ESR is back in the starting at 11? It's a really tough one. So he did obviously play that game when Martinelli was suspended against Brentford in the double game week 26. He obviously scored a great goal. And then he was out the next game against Wolves, out of the squad completely. And reading some of the quotes, it seemed like it was injury related or like sickness related. So I have no idea what to make of if ESR is back in the starting 11. I think that's why I was suggesting to the other guy, if he was thinking about Martinelli, just to not entertain it, just because there could be some risk there, and instead just go with Saka, the more nailed-on option. So, I think Martinelli is first choice above Smith Rowe, but it wouldn't surprise me if Smith Rowe played, because he's played really well ever since, whenever he's in the team. Smith Rowe burnt me so much earlier this season. I started with Smith Rowe, sold him on Wildcard when he started going on a big goal-scoring run. So, but I love Smith Rowe. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'd be happy with Smith Rowe or Martinelli both in the team. Alright guys, so that's kind of my Wildcard draft. I've gone through Captaincy, I think, in quite a bit. Sorry, there's some other stuff. But yeah, so again, I think just to reiterate for anyone who didn't see the start of the stream, this is my team as it stands. I have the one free transfer. I am going to bench boost this week. I'm confident with bench boosting just because I wildcarded in 26. I thought Arsenal might get the double. They didn't, but that's okay. It's Watford away. It's a fine fixture. And I think I'm going to take out Luca Dean for Reece James. So if anyone didn't see as well, I did look at FPL review earlier at the transfer suggestion. And over the next 3 weeks, so game week 28, 29, and 30, it did suggest Luca Dean to Reece James as my transfer to do. And I was kind of thinking about it already, just because I don't want Luca Dean moving forward after this week anyway. I know he's got a double, but I'm thinking I'm going to do it anyway, because look, Southampton at home, I think Southampton can score. I think they're in the top 5 or 6 for expected goals, minutes per expected goals over the last 6 game weeks. And then Leeds, I think Leeds would score playing at home. So I don't see a clean sheet in either of those games for Luca Dean. And I had a look at this a little bit earlier as well. So West Ham's attacking stats over the last 6 game weeks are actually worse than Southampton and Leeds on a minutes per expected goals front. And Liverpool's defense is way better than Aston Villa's. So I'm kind of thinking that Robertson could even just outscore Luca Dean this week anyway. And I'm going to want Robertson longer term. And I really want a Chelsea defender, probably Reece James. So I'm thinking I just take out Luca Dean for Reece James. Whatever. It's a double for a double. Reece James might only play 1, but it might be 1 week of pain where I lose out on a fixture from Luca Dean, maybe doing well. But I'm going to want Reece James moving forward. And I kind of went through it earlier. My team's pretty well set up for game week 29 and 30. So I feel like I can sacrifice one game week 30 player in Luca Dean. I don't want to think about the whole holding a player just because he plays in game week 30 too much. I've done this in the past and it's kind of burnt me. So I think that's what I'm going to do. At the moment, captaincy's on Rafinha. I think, though, if I bring in Reece James, I think I'm going to captain him. And I'll probably vice-captain Rafinha or vice-captain Salah. So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking at the moment. I'll confirm it on Twitter just before deadline. But I have a feeling that's what I'm going to be doing. Luca Dean out for Reece James. And so my team would look like, this. It would look like this, basically. on the bench boost. So this is on FPL.team. Yeah. And I'll probably do this. I have a feeling I'm going to be doing it. I think I'm going to be captaining James. It's a bit of a risk, but yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So this would be how my team looks for 28. I think it's good. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. I'd probably play Dubravka over Ramsdale to start. So I'd have 8 double game week players, single players of Salah and Salah, Lacazette, Ramsdale, Son, Saka, and sorry, I'd have single game week players of Salah, Lacazette, Ramsdale, Son, Saka, and Robertson. I think that's pretty good single game week players, in all honesty. I think that's going to be my team. I have a feeling I'm going to be doing that. I'll just look at any final questions. FPL Planner, good luck this game week. Good luck to you, FPL Planner. I know we've been chatting a little bit, and thanks so much as well for your help in terms of trying to figure out my own thoughts around my team. TJ, good luck. Yep, good luck to you, and good luck to everyone out there. Hamza, Coutinho to Sterling. No, I wouldn't be doing that. Coutinho's got the double. Well, who am I to talk? I'm taking out an Aston Villa double game week player for a... but at least the player I'm bringing has got a double. I wouldn't do Coutinho to Sterling. Sharul, should I choose Salah as a captain? If you want to play safe, fine. But I want to play a bit more fun and go for a double game week player. And Mitchell, good luck. NRL next week. Yep, so another plug as well if you guys follow rugby league here in Oz. I've got a NRL related channel, Amar Talks NRL Supercoach. NRL season starting in the next week. Putting out a bunch of content on there as well. Going to be live streaming again tomorrow for that. So definitely subscribe to that channel if you want to see that content. If you want to see more FPL content, definitely subscribe to this channel. And hopefully you guys have a good game week. Hopefully I was able to get to all of your questions and help you guys out. But yeah, if you did enjoy it, obviously really appreciate a thumbs up on the way out as well, just to get the word of the channel out there. And yeah, that's it guys. Probably going to end the stream there. Good luck for Game Week 28. See you all in the next one.